Welcome everybody to this new PCB Investigator video tutorial where I want to show you the brand new Mycronic Pick&Place export functionality which is included in the production control edition of PCB Investigator. We have a demo design here with two layers and around about 150 components. A few of them are SMD, a few of them are through-hole components, and we also have a few test points there. And I'm going to start with Mycronic Pick&Place export in the machine format button here. And as you're going to see, the first thing we have to do is to enter a few settings. And here we have basically two possibilities. The first one is you can export from MyCenter a component and a package file, which you can then add as a reference here. Then PCB Investigator is able to read this component and package file and gets the component and package outline information from MyCenter in that way. At the end, you have the possibility to export a Mycronic file, a gene file, which then can be imported manually in your MyCenter of Mycronic. The much better way would be to use a direct TP-Sys connection, where you have to enter your IP address or the server name and your username and password, which is default TP-Sys and MyData. This is what I want to show here, because then we have the possibility to directly send the layout to TP-Sys without exporting a file, which then must be imported. So we directly send it to TP-Sys. Yeah, and then here you can decide just one thing. You have the step PCB and panel, and you can decide if the name inside of MyCenter of the panel and the single board should have the project name, which can be given here, as a prefix to the step name. So you can decide if the step name is enough or if you want to add the project name as a prefix. So then we have to decide whether we want to export the single PCB or the panel step. I just show you we have a panel step here. So there are 3 single boards in that panel. And what I want to do is to export the panel. And then we have to know how the components are named in your MyCenter database. And we have a lot of properties in this design here, which is coming from ODB++ from Altium, by the way. And we can decide whether we want the internal part number of this ODB dataset to be matched against the names in Mycronic, or if we want any other property which might be included in this design. But we want to use part name here because the part number, which is the basic of ODB++, is also the reference number of the components in my MyCenter. Yeah, and then we can decide if you use a component filter, which is the component type attribute in ODB++, and we can say I just want SMD components because the others are not placed with this pick-and-place machine. And we want to ignore unplaced. That means the comp ignore attribute, which is also part of ODB++, is used here. So components with the comp ignore attribute are also not listed. That's in that case, for example, the test points, which you see here, for example. This one, if I go to the single board, I can just show you this one has attribute ignore. Yes, so this is standard ODB++ attribute, which is used here to ignore those non-placed components. Okay, so this is setting and we say refresh list. And now PCB Investigator is making a connection to the MyCenter database via the network and asks for existing component names, for the packages which are assigned to those packages, to those components, and matches this with our design data. So we see here all the components. I just sort by the status. So let's begin with the one which are green. So on the right side, we see that there is a component R46 and R45 with this part name on the SAP PCB. And there is a Mycronic part name found, that one here. And we can see the white outline is the cut outline, and the green outline and also the green information is coming directly from Mycronic. So from the Mycronic server, we fetched the geometry data and put these two over each other so that we can see directly if they are fitting. So, and OK means everything is good. So the Mycronic part is directly fitting to the CAD part. So the pins are above each other. And in the background, there's also an auto rotation and auto placement offset correction running. So you don't have to align those components if the center point is not equal. This is all done by PCB-Investigator directly. Yeah, and then we have a lot of them which are okay. So you see the pins are inside, and everything is fitting. So here you don't have to do anything. But then we have no Mycronic part available also, and selected Mycronic part does not fit. So let's begin here. So this IPD component here, which is used in 4 different Q references, does not fit because the pins are not above each other. So here the autocorrection was not able to do that on its own, but we have the possibility to move the part here. And you see selected part does not fit, but as soon as I make it inside the other pins, it's okay. So here I can just do some manual correction and add some placement offset, or maybe also some rotation offsets. Let's check the second one here. Okay, we have a component with a large pin and a small pin. It's some power components. I just rotate it and move it a bit. And maybe we can also go down here a little bit to 0.5 and move it a bit more so. Now it's okay. Yeah, and the last one, here he says a pin count mismatch is the error because the pins are inside of each belonging CAD pin, but in CAD data there's a pin number 9 which probably connects those 4, and this is not existing in the library of Mycronic. Here the component has only 8 pins and not 9, and that's why it's a pin count mismatch. But as you see, the component is perfectly fitting, so this is all right for me. Yeah, then let's take a look to the no Mycronic part available. So here we have this component in ODB++ in the CAD data, and there is no part with this name in the Mycronic library defined yet. So what we can do is we say, I want to search if there is an existing component shape which fits to this CAD component. And what PCB-Investigator is doing now is he's connecting again to Mycronic and getting all the packages which are defined in the library, and we are getting the outlines, and then is checking if there is an existing outline which would fit for this new part. The list is empty. He does not find anything. I just say only fitting shapes I remove, so now I see all of them, so all components, if they fit or not. Because probably the reason is that in Mycronic it has 4 pins and not 5, I think. But we will see the name is something with PowerPack SO8, so let's just search for SO8 and check the existing library if there's one which fits. This probably fits here, I think. So it's maybe not in the middle, but if I move it a little bit, this package would fit. We can also zoom in and zoom out. Yeah, and I will take that existing package to create a new part in the Mycronic library. So we have a new part now, and the package is assigned. So let's take a look here. Again, we have a component and no fitting part, or this part is not existing on the Mycronic side. So we say search component, and the second time it's much faster because he already buffered the list. And he says, oh, there's one fitting. So we see here one package would exactly fit to the CAD package. So let's take it. Yeah, and the last one is that here. We do the same, search component shape, and there are 4 packages fitting. So I can check which one I want to take. So yeah, I think this one is the perfect one. It's a TMC SOP8. So I accept it. So now we already finished. Yeah, now we can enter project name. We can say which site we want to export, and we can export the Mycronic file, a gen file, which then can be imported manually. Or, as I said, we will use the send layout to TP system. And I will just show you the web interface of this Mycronic machine, and there is currently no layout included. And we will now say send layout to TPsys. Oh, and now we get a message that some fiducials are still missing. So there is no fiducial for the PCB on the top and the bottom side. In the panel there are fiducials defined, but not on the printed circuit board on the single board itself. And this is mandatory, but it's not an issue. So we go here, I move this away, and I go to the top layer. I go to our fabrication and marker list. I want to edit the fiducials because fiducials are there. They just don't have the right attribute. So I set this attribute here and here. So it's a pad usage attribute and here. And I do the same also on the bottom. There are also some fiducials here. Set fiducial, and set fiducial. So what is done in the background. The pad usage attribute is assigned to L fiducial. So this is done in the background. Yeah, but now let's try it again. So I want to send the layout now to TP system. So he asked me if I really want to do that. Yes. And this may take a few seconds, and now the export is finished. So let's take a look again to our web interface here. So again to the placement data, to layouts, and here we see our test design for top and bottom. If I click on top, I see the panel with all the reference points and all the components. We can enlarge the image to have a large image of the panel. We see the fiducial markers we defined, and all the components are added to the placement list of this board. We can dive into the panel and see this PCB name, and as I said, the PCB is the step name, and here in front is the project name. That was the option in the setting. And we can go to the single PCB. We see it here with all the fiducials and all the components, and we have all the BOM, the whole bill of material. Yeah, it's that easy to create a whole placement program with PCB-Investigator for Mycronic machines. And it's also important to know that PCB-Investigator in that way also supports family boards and nested panels. So it's very, very easy to create the placement program in Mycronic just by using a few clicks, and a few auto corrections are done in the background. You see what you will get. You don't export component placement data, and afterwards you don't even know if they are really at the right position, if they are rotated in the right way. All this is much better by using the Mycronic Pick&Place exporter of PCB-Investigator. So as always, if you have any questions, please contact us on our website www.pcb-investigator.com or write us an email to support@easylogics.de. So we are happy to hear from you, and I wish you a nice afternoon and hope to hear you soon. Bye.